Okay, that's been said. Let's start with the news. And of course, main topic of discussion is this topic of a new peace proposal that, well, if yesterday it was just Axios and maybe one or two other media outlets that were reporting about this mysterious 28-point plan that Trump's administration worked on, well, since then, almost all media outlets reported about it, about this stuff today. And probably in upcoming days, I will give you what is known first, and then I will give you my opinion, my analysis of the situation. So RIA Novosti is reporting what has become known of the new U.S. plan for settlement in Ukraine. So Financial Times and Axios have revealed details of the new American plan to resolve the conflict in Ukraine. Actually, more media outlets, Reuters, Washington Post, you name it. I mean, everyone is talking about it and writing some stuff. US and other countries recognize Crimea and Donbass as legitimate Russian territories, but they will not ask Ukraine to do the same, the American portal stated. Okay, and there are some other key details. The US proposal includes the status of the state language for Russian and recognition of the official status of the Ukrainian Orthodox Church on a Kiev-controlled territory. Another point, Washington will reduce military aid to Kiev. Ukraine is giving up all of Donbass, and the number of Ukrainian armed forces is going to be halved approximately, according to this American plan. Also, these are ideas of Trump and his team involves transferring the Donbass territories controlled by the Kiev to Russia in exchange for security guarantees from the United States. The contact lines in Zaporozhye and Kherson regions will be mostly frozen. Yeah, of course, if you say so. The territories of Donbass that Kiev cedes will be considered a demilitarized zone, which is insane. The deployment of foreign troops in Ukraine will be prohibited. Yes, we're gonna trust Western anyways. Kiev will no longer receive Western weapons capable of striking deep into Russia. Qatar and Turkey are participating in development of their initiative. According to Reuters, the United States has made it clear to Vladimir Zelensky that Kiev must accept their peace plan. Ukrainian media reports suggest Washington will press him to agree to a framework agreement with the Russian Federation. So, a bunch of nonsense there, by the way, bunch of nonsense, obviously. That would not be acceptable for the Russian government also, right? RIA Novosti is also reporting that allegedly Trump's Ukraine plan is in line with Putin's proposals. This was stated by Wall Street Journal. So aligned with Russian leader Vladimir Putin's proposals announced at the Alaska summit, the Wall Street Journal reports, and this is lie, by the way. We know this is lie straight away because in no circumstances Russian president will say, either in Anchorage or anywhere else, that you know what, we're gonna give up on not yet liberated territories of new Russian regions, for example, in Kherson or Zaporozhye region. And you know why Putin would not say this kind of crap ever? Because it's illegal. By Russian law, no one can advocate for separation of the Russian territory from country. It's illegal, by the way. Right? And there are a number of peoples that are actually serving the time in prison, according to reports that I have seen, exactly for that, for advocating separation of the Russian territories. So this is a lie, by the way. Russian president never ever proposed or agreed to give up on Russian territories. Nonsense, right? It's not happening. Anyways, quote here, elements of Trump's new plan are consistent with Putin's proposed during his meeting with Witkov in August, And the letter at his summit with Trump in Alaska publication is saying it is also noted that Washington is relying on Moscow's interest in reviving economic relations with the West when implementing the possible peace agreement. And you know what? No thanks. Russia learned hard way lesson that you cannot have any relationships with the West, basically, right? Political, economical, any, because they will use it against you. They will use it against you, right? So we know this. So therefore, let's stay away from the West as much as possible, man. Let's just leave a door open for ordinary people to go in and out, right? To communicate, ordinary Westerners, ordinary Russians, so that on a level of societies, they're going to be some communication, and that's about it. We don't need no more freaking relationships with the West. Nothing, world is massive, huge, much bigger than Western collective West, and there is a plenty of opportunity out there, right? We don't need no West, man, for anything really. TASS news agency is also reporting that according to Politico, new U.S. peace plan for Ukraine stunned the West, which is a lie, by the way. I mean, this is such a deception operation, quite a complex one, by the way, but this is clearly deception operation. I'll give you my take on that later on in a minute. Ukrainian and European officials were stunned when news of a new U.S. plan for settlement in Ukraine emerged. This was reported by the American publication Politico, citing sources. Bullshit. Absolute lie, by the way. This whole operation is obviously well coordinated among globalists and the neocons, among Western elites. There can be no doubts about that. Although Europeans gonna play some games there, of course, and Kiev region will do the same. They will play some games, right? How upset they are that they did not know nothing, while they knew perfectly well what was going on, right, and what was going to happen. According to newspaper, U.S. presidential envoy Steve Witkoff began working on a new settlement plan in late October after meeting with the Russian presidential special representative for investments and economic cooperation with the foreign countries, Kirill Dmitriev, in Miami. According to political source, this news has raised concerns among many Western and Ukrainian politicians that the U.S. might cave into Russia's demands. As Russian Foreign Ministry spokesperson Maria Zakharova stated earlier in an interview with the TASS, Russia has not received information from the US through official channels regarding certain agreements regarding Ukraine that the media is reporting in past non-stop in past 24 plus hours, right? Also, we have this report from TASS, which is highlights Axios's article that the US is ready, allegedly, to recognize Russia's sovereignty over the Crimea and Donbass, but this is also a lie and part of deception, because Telegraph on other side, British media outlet, is reporting that US plan for Ukraine, a money for a land scheme is proposed. It's allegedly in that 28-point plan that Washington come up with, there is a money for a land scheme. The essence of the scheme proposed by the US is that Russia should pay Ukraine rent for Donbass. I mean, seriously, man, are we seriously discussing this stuff now? That Russia have to pay some rent? At the same time, Kiev can legally retain claims to the region that become a part of Russia. The agreement provides for Ukraine to cede control over the Donbass while legally retaining the territory as a part of its domain. This was stated by the source of the Telegraph. The amount of rent that the plan proposes Russia to pay was not disclosed by the publication sources. I mean, pure madness, by the way, pure madness. They cannot come up with even decent deception operation, man. These intellectually bankrupt criminals that are called Western elites, right? They are just too freaking stupid to come up with something really, really complex that would not be easily read. by others, right? RIA Novosti is also reporting that U.S. Secretary of the Army will meet with the Russian side after his visit to Kiev. So today, yes, U.S. Army Secretary Daniel Driscoll, together with two four-star generals, allegedly gonna have some talks in Kiev, including with Zelensky, and allegedly topic of discussion will be this Trump's 28-point plan. And after that meeting, allegedly these criminals from US are gonna travel to Russia and have discussions with the Russian leadership. I mean, okay, what can I say, man? If Russian leadership has no other things to do, then they can have a talks with these criminals, of course. But I think they should be busy with some serious stuff, really serious stuff, not this bullshit, right? For now, we only have partial confirmation of existence of this plan, right? And Rubio spoke about it. Yet again, this is just partial confirmation that our US is developing peace proposals, taking into account the positions of Russia and Ukraine. This was said by Rubio in his Twitter X post. And well, it's not just Maria Zakharova, official spokeswoman of the Russian Foreign Ministry, that said that from official lines of communication, Moscow didn't receive nothing from the US, right? About all these topics that media is talking about now. And the press spokesman of the Russian president, Dmitry Peskov, also said that there is no news yet. Peskov said on Axios' claim that Trump's administration and Russia are secretly working on a plan to end Ukraine conflict. There were discussions in Anchorage. Beyond what was discussed in Anchorage, there is no news yet to share with public. That's what Peskov said. And now, dear friends, I mean, you share your take, what you think about all this stuff. I give you my take on all this situation. And as you can see from the headline itself, my understanding of the situation is quite clear. This is a relatively large scale, relatively complex deception operation on part of globalists, neocons, and all the others, all the other enemies of Russia. And I can explain why I think so. And so, well, first of all, let's keep in mind what is going on the battlefield, right? Russian militaries are advancing all along the front line. In Zaporozhye sector, Kiev regime's defense lines are literally collapsing as we speak, and for quite a while now, Russian troops are liberating settlement after settlement, and are only a few kilometers away from Gulyai Pole, major stronghold of Kiev regime in eastern part of Zaporozhye sector. Russian troops are also become very active in Orekhov direction, second stronghold of Kiev regime in the central part of the sector in Zaporozhye. Right, Russian troops just a few days ago completely liberated Malaya Takmachka settlement, which is basically linked to Orekhov city itself, right? And so yes, that's Zaporozhye. Russian troops are advancing in DPR, of course, right? Pokrovsk-Mirnograd agglomeration is encircled. Pokrovsk is liberated. Clearing operation is underway. In Mirnograd, Kiev regime's forces still have opportunity to contact Russian militaries and lay down arms and surrender. Otherwise, well, FAB 3000s are flying into Mirnograd on a point of concentration of Kiev regime's forces that refuse to surrender literally on daily basis. And I have shared quite a number of those videos, right, on my Telegram and Twitter X page. So Russian side will take whatever time is necessary, but basically Pokrovsk-Mirnograd operation is almost finished, right? Matter of time, and both these cities, cleaning operation will be finalized in both. Simultaneously, dear friends, yesterday I reported about massive progress, breakthrough of the Russian armed forces in Seversk area, right? Also DPR. Russian troops are already in the city, and this morning I see some reports that Russian troops are controlling from 10 to 15 up to 20, even more percent of territory of the city. Right, Seversk, that is. Russian troops also advancing towards Liman. Russian troops are advancing in between Seversk and Liman also. So clearly Kiev regime's defense lines are collapsing there too, right? When it comes to Kharkov region, Well, Kupiansk is encircled. Russian troops are finalizing clearing operation. Russian troops are advancing on the northern flank of Kharkov region also, in Volchansk area, for example, and more settlements being liberated there. Clearing operation in Volchansk itself is about to be finalized, correct? And we should not forget Dnipropetrovsk region, by the way, where Russian forces are absolutely unstoppable and liberating more and more settlements literally on daily basis. And that is happening even without Russian armed forces launching a sectoral scale offensive in the Dnipropetrovsk region. Right, so Kiev regime's defense lines are collapsing. By the way, Kiev regime's forces are on a breaking point, right? And this is well known to U.S. leadership, American political class, militaries, intelligence. This is well known to not just American neocons, but also to European globalists, right? They know this perfectly well. And so, what they gonna do about it? What they gonna do about it? Well, they began inputting, they launched this corruption scandal in US using their assets, NABU and their SAP, these anti-corruption institutions that are completely controlled by the West, right, to impose pressure on Zelensky so that he will start mobilizing young generation people, youth basically, right, to deal with their manpower issues somehow, at least for time being. And simultaneously, to distract the Russian side, they launched this deception operation that everybody is talking about Russia, this 28-point Trump's peace plan for Ukraine. I mean, really? And all they want is, by the way, to somehow lure in to distract Russia, maybe to somehow reach a ceasefire on a line of contact so that the West will have opportunity to rearm, reinforce, right, Kiev regime, to deploy more and more thousands upon thousands of mercenaries from all over the world, right? And you think Russia will fail for this nonsense? No. Moscow not gonna fail for this stuff, dear friends. Moscow not gonna fail for this stuff. I'm 100% convinced on that. Although let's wait and see what is going to happen. And meanwhile, as a part of a game, as a part of this deception operation, as I already said, the Kyiv regime will begin whining about how they were left out of this plan, right? From works on this plan. How Europeans will do the same, European elites, these globalists, and so on. That they've been left out from actively participating in the works on this plan, and all this hysteria will be just a attempt, just gameplay to mislead the Russian side. They want Moscow to think that Washington is actually serious about escalation, which is, come on, man. If anybody believes anything that comes out from either Washington or from any other capital in the collective West, then I don't know. I mean, there is Himalaya mountains that I'm trying to sell for past several centuries, and I could not. So I would happily sell that mountains to those that actually believe that Washington or any other capital in the West or Western elites in general can be trusted. Nevertheless, it's the early stages of this massive deception operation, of course, and we will need a couple of more days to have a more or less good understanding where Moscow stands on that. But what is very important, dear friends, and I spoke about this yesterday in my second update on Patreon and Boosty, all this story, all this situation resembles to me to situation that we see in regards to Iran-US negotiations. Remember, there was a nuclear talks about nuclear program of Iran between Tehran and Washington with the mediation of Oman. There was several rounds of these talks that took place actually, and the sixth round was in preparations, I believe, when US and Israel went to conduct decapitation strike on Iran. And then this 12-day war happened. So all this story resembles to me that Iran-US negotiations, and there maybe if maybe part of this plan of the globalists and neocons is to first lower Russia into this trap of useless talks, useless negotiations, right? And then at some point, launch a decapitation strike on Russian political and military leadership, and basically launch a next phase of escalation against Russia with not just a decapitation strike on Russia, but also with the massive drone and missile strikes on Russia, with massive, unprecedented scale terrorist attacks on Russian Federation, while all the assets will be used, or most assets will be used by Western secret services that they have in Russian territory, simultaneously unprecedented scale of cyber attacks on Russian Federation. They will try to create a chaos here in Russia, right? That's what might be the plan, by the way, of the globalists and the neocons, right? And my hope is that Moscow, I mean, if I can understand this, if I can see this, hopefully whatever think tanks are providing analytics for Kremlin, they see it also, right? And after all, come on, man, we are experienced enough now. We are experienced enough to understand that Western elites cannot be trusted in general, right? Nothing that they say means anything, actually, right? They use diplomacy as a tool of deception, as a weapon, and we should always understand this and never forget. And hopefully Russian leadership understands this perfectly well. That's my explanation, dear friends. I understand all the media outlets, not just MSM, but even alternative media, obviously will pay a great deal of attention to these developments, this Trump's 28-point plan. This is going to be main topic of discussion today, tomorrow, day after, for quite a while, quite some time now. But it's a deception. It's clearly a deception operation that is intent to lower guard of the Russia, to lure Russia into this trap, and then to attack Russia with next phase of escalation. And that's all it is, right? That's all it is. No one should expect any actual de-escalation anytime soon, unfortunately. We all love to see end of this proxy war that West is waging against Russia, but this is not happening, not yet, right? Western elites clearly are not ready yet and not willing yet to acknowledge that they lost this proxy war, and they are not ready to capitulate. That's how their situation is, right? In case you like my work and want to support, let me tell you that under this video in description box and in the pinned comment, you can find links to PayPal and Boosty platforms that you can use to donate to this project. You can find there also a link to my Patreon page. Please follow me there if you can. And there is a crypto option also. Thank you.